All right, so correction problem number 18. So a farmer uses a lever to move a large rock. The force required to move the rock varies inversely with the distance from the pivot point to the point the force is applied. A force of 50 pounds applied to the lever 36 inches from the pivot point of the lever will move the rock. Which function models the relationship between F, the amount of force applied to the lever, and D, the distance of the applied force from the pivot point? Step 1 says to find out whether or not you have an inverse or direct variation. Well, it says here in the problem, grab a pen, it says here in the problem that it varies inversely, so I have an inverse variation problem. So step 2, inverses, I'm going to set up the proportion with the x and the y values flipped. So I'm going to end up doing x1 over x2 is equal to y2 over y1. So it's backwards. The second side is flipped over. Then I have to decide what x's and y's represent, and then I'm going to just plug in the numbers. Well, I'm going to let x's be force, and I'm going to let y's be distance. Need to put that somewhere else. So x's are going to be force, and so if force, I know that force, there is a force of 50 pounds being applied. I also know that for the y values, that's going to be distance. And so they're flip-flopped, so my distance is here, and I know that the distance they gave me in the formula is 36. So I'm going to cross multiply and figure out what I have. So if I multiply here, 50 times 36, I'm going to get 1800. And then that equals, and then when I multiply here, I get F times D. Well, if you look at my answer choices, none of them say that. None of them say F times D equals 1800. I do, however, have two problems that have 1800 in them. And so I'm going to cross off the two that don't, and then I'm going to look at what I have. I either have D is equal to F divided by 1800, or I have F is equal to 1800 divided by D. Let's start with A. That means for this equation I need to get D by itself. So I have to get D by itself, I'd have to divide by F on both sides. And so I would get D is equal to 1800 over F. Well, if you look at my answer choice A, that's not what it says, which means the answer has to be C, but I want to look at Y. So let's go look at it and let's solve this equation over here for F instead of for D. And so to get F by itself, I would have to divide both sides by D, and so you would get F is equal to 1800 over D. And so that is the equation. That's probably the simplest, easiest way to do it. The other thing that I know is that because it's inverse, then x times y is going to equal k, which is my constant, which is the number that I need for the problem. Well, if x times y equals k, the only two numbers that I have in my problem are 50 and 36. So if I do 50 times 36, it gives me 1800, which tells me that k is equal to 1800. I also know that because it's a inverse variation problem, if x times y equaled k, then what I know is that my force times my distance equaled k. And then I'm back where I started over here. I either have to, force times distance has to equal 1800 because that's what k was. I either have to get d by itself or f by itself, and I do the same process that I did over here. So you can either do the proportion, or you know that x times y equals k. Either one will get you to the correct answer.